Kharkiv, Ukraine, a city steeped in history, now scarred by war. The air, once filled with laughter and the bustle of life, now carries the acrid smell of smoke and the chilling whistle of falling bombs. Just this past week, another wave of attacks rained down upon the city, turning buildings to rubble and lives to dust. It's a scene that's become tragically familiar, a grim reminder of the relentless assault on Ukraine and its people. The images coming out of Kharkiv are nothing short of heartbreaking. Families huddled in bomb shelters, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. Children clutching their toys, their innocence shattered by the horrors of war. These are the human costs of this conflict, the innocent lives caught in the crossfire of a war they didn't ask for. And let's be clear, this isn't just a Ukrainian problem. This is a global crisis, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression. When hospitals are bombed and schools are reduced to rubble, it should give us all pause. This isn't just about geopolitics or territorial disputes. It's about basic human decency, about protecting the innocent from the ravages of war. The people of Kharkiv, like all Ukrainians, deserve to live in peace, free from the fear of falling bombs. They deserve a future where their children can play in parks, not bomb shelters. They deserve the support of the international community, not just in words but in deeds. The recent attacks on Kharkiv are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger, disturbing pattern of aggression that has plagued Ukraine for far too long. From the annexation of Crimea to the ongoing conflict in the Donbas region, the people of Ukraine have endured years of violence and instability. Their resilience is remarkable, their spirit unbroken. But how much more can they be expected to bear? The echoes of this war reverberate far beyond Ukraine's borders. It has sparked a global energy crisis, disrupted supply chains, and fueled a refugee crisis not seen since World War II. The world is grappling with the fallout, with the realization that this conflict has far-reaching consequences for us all. In the face of such adversity, the international community has a moral obligation to act. We cannot stand idly by while innocent lives are lost and a sovereign nation is torn apart. The time for empty condemnations and symbolic gestures has long passed. What's needed now is decisive action. We need to ramp up humanitarian aid, providing food, shelter, and medical supplies to those who have lost everything. We need to hold those responsible for these atrocities accountable, ensuring that justice is served and that impunity does not prevail. And perhaps most importantly, we need to provide Ukraine with the means to defend itself. Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, was once a vibrant hub of culture and commerce. Known for its universities, theaters, and beautiful parks, it was a city brimming with life and promise. Today, that vibrancy is muted, replaced by the constant threat of air raids and the grim reality of war. The city's infrastructure has been devastated. Hospitals, schools, and residential areas have all been targeted, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The once bustling streets are now eerily quiet, punctuated by the sounds of air raid sirens and the rumble of distant explosions. The people of Kharkiv are living a nightmare, their city held hostage by the relentless barrage of bombs. Despite the constant danger, the spirit of the people of Kharkiv remains unbroken. Volunteers work tirelessly to evacuate civilians, provide food and shelter to those in need, and clear the rubble from the streets. Doctors and nurses risk their lives to treat the wounded, while teachers strive to provide some semblance of normalcy for their traumatized students. The resilience of the Ukrainian people is a testament to their strength and determination. They refuse to be broken by this war, but they cannot do it alone. They need our support, our solidarity, and our unwavering commitment to stand with them in their fight for freedom and democracy. Section 4. The world is watching. The international response to the war in Ukraine has been a mixed bag of condemnation, sanctions, and military aid. While the unity shown in the early days of the conflict was heartening, the reality is that more needs to be done to stop the bloodshed and hold Russia accountable for its actions. World leaders have condemned the attacks on Kharkiv and other Ukrainian cities, but words are not enough. More needs to be done to provide Ukraine with the weapons it needs to defend itself against Russian aggression. This includes advanced air defense systems that can intercept missiles and protect civilians from indiscriminate attacks. President Zelenskiy has been a tireless advocate for his people, pleading with the international community for increased military support. His pleas have not gone unheard, but the response has been slow and often insufficient. the West must recognize that providing Ukraine with the means to defend itself is not an act of escalation, but a necessary step to deter further aggression. The world is watching, and history will judge us on how we respond to this crisis. We can choose to stand on the sidelines and watch as Ukraine is destroyed, or we can choose to act decisively and provide the Ukrainian people with the support they need to defend their freedom and their future. Section 5. A call to action. This isn't about picking sides in some geopolitical chess match. This is about basic human decency. It's about recognizing that the people of Kharkiv, the people of Ukraine, deserve to live in a world where their skies are not filled with missiles, where their children can go to school without fear, and where their homes are not reduced to rubble. The world has the resources, the technology, and frankly the moral obligation to prevent these atrocities. We can't claim ignorance, we can't plead helplessness. We are witnessing the consequences of inaction in real time, and it's a horror show we cannot afford to keep watching. So, what can you do? Well, for starters, don't look away. Stay informed about the situation in Ukraine and call out misinformation and propaganda wherever you see it. Contact your elected officials and demand they do more to support Ukraine and hold Russia accountable. Support organizations providing humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Every little bit helps. And most importantly, keep the people of Ukraine in your thoughts. Let them know that the world hasn't forgotten them, that we stand with them in their fight for a just and peaceful future. Section 6. Preventing the next Kharkiv. The haunting images of Kharkiv should serve as a wake-up call to the international community. We can no longer afford to be complacent in the face of aggression and human suffering. The time for half measures and empty promises is over. What's needed now is concrete action to prevent the next Kharkiv, the next Mariupol, the next Bucha. We need to strengthen international institutions like the United Nations and equip them with the tools they need to enforce international law and hold aggressors accountable. We need to invest in diplomacy and conflict resolution, working to address the root causes of conflict and build a more peaceful and just world. But most importantly, we need to remember that behind the headlines and the statistics are real people whose lives have been shattered by this war. Families torn apart, children orphaned, dreams shattered. These are the human costs of conflict, and they are simply unacceptable. The road ahead will be long and difficult, but we cannot give in to despair or apathy. We must remain committed to the pursuit of peace, justice, and accountability. For the sake of the people of Kharkiv, for the sake of Ukraine, and for the sake of humanity, we must prevent the next tragedy from unfolding. Let us not allow our collective failure to act be the epitaph for Kharkiv or for any other city that falls victim to the scourge of war.